Welcome back to Happy Hour Holidays. We got a repeat offender in studio today. And I want to go a little bit into this, but we'll do it a little bit later. But he started a agency that's called Athlete Empowerment Agency to help really high school students going into the NIL deals of college, because really we don't know if everybody's going to make it into the NFL, and you got to have the best representation possible. And that's what Mr. Steve Fantetti does right now. He's helping these kids navigate through a very difficult situation nowadays to try to get the most out of their talent.
Okay, so Manny again glossed over me.
I was just about to say in my co-host.
Shit. So I'm going to introduce myself. Sean Fabre, bro, CMO, entrepreneur, Tampa Titan 100, Tampa Bay Business Journal 30 under 30, published author, FAA pilot, Sean Fabre. And what you guys are looking here right on camera, this is our first prototype. I know the podcast that is being released next week or the week prior to this one, we said that we're going to have the whole store up on the Happy Hour Holidays website. That's going to be postponed probably until the 1st of December. We're trying to get it 100% the quality that we want. Once it's there, then we're going to have 10 designs that are ready for distribution. And it's only going to be t-shirts for now. I know I also said shoes, but we're going to take a backseat on that. So I just wanted to touch base on that. And now you can get into
all right. If you're looking to hire a good subcontractor, his resume is on Indeed. He is available. So if you really want to know the whole resume, you can look it up on Indeed.
That's right.
He is for sale.
Instagram, yeah. You
Mr.
can slut me out. Not to mention, Sabre Suites is now in full effect. So you'd be able to rent this beautiful podcast studio that you're looking at. We book per episode. We book by packages. We can build websites for your podcast. We could do everything. I just got to plug all that in. Shout out Vince Serrano. Shout out Joey Lumpkin with Venom Designs. And all right, let's get into it.
And shout out to Fabre Frameworks for giving us this beautiful
Shout out
space.
to Fabre Frameworks. I know there's not probably a lot of realtors that listen. But
shout out Elon Musk for the Tesla truck.
You didn't pull up in that, though.
I did not. No,
Why not?
I did not.
Did you end up buying it?
Not yet.
Oh, wait a second.
Here's why.
I thought you were on the waiting list.
I feel like it got inflated.
No, mine came in.
Oh.
I finally got notice of it maybe about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Finally, mine came in.
Why
I was on the waiting list.
But then the price went up.
They just flipped the script on us big time, and I ain't filing any lawsuits. But I'm just saying, like,
allegedly. First allegedly.
when I paid to reserve my spot, that thing all in was like $48,000.
Oh, I remember.
And now it's like almost double and a half in price. And I'm like, well, that's not what you led me on when I signed up. A whole bunch of things happen. If you listen to the earnings calls that Tesla's had over the past year
what was the price that they were trying to give you?
Now?
Yeah, now.
Oh, it's over like 112,000 or something.
That's what I saw.
48.
That's my point. That's why I'm like, well, that's not what you led me on. And I don't think it's worth that. It's a beautiful, listen, everything Elon does, I'm long on it. I'll invest forever.
SpaceX.
Problem is SpaceX, Space Force, everything.
Space Force is the U.S., bro.
Right there. But what I'll tell you is if you listen to that, like, he basically told you, like, look, a lot of things happened over the past several years where he had to build a whole new plant just to build Tesla trucks. He couldn't use the plant where the cars were. Materials got more expensive. So all those things you have to obviously pass off to the consumer, and it's just going to make it a more expensive product. It just denigrated the purpose of getting an electric vehicle that looked as cool as that. The DeLorean SUV, as I call it, for that price. It's just not worth it at that price point. Of course, you could buy it. It's just not worth it. But I mean, within like a year or two, you can start buying those things probably when they're sold used for like $25,000. People are going to dump them.
Do you think that he made a mistake by doing this pre-order thing?
I don't, because it was actually brilliant. He was able to get people like me to give him capital to start the things he needed to do. That's exactly what it is. You had to pay to preserve your spot.
But then they're shell-shocked when they figure out that. I remember seeing.
I wasn't shell-shocked. I was just mad. But no, I guess I see your point.
I mean, shell-shocked capital was refundable, though, right?
What's that?
It was refundable, right?
Oh, yeah. Listen, he can keep it. It was only a couple $100 if I remember what it
was.
Oh,
I thought you were talking about thousands.
No, you don't. He didn't ask for that. I would have done it at the time because I would have wanted to preserve it and I would have got my money back for that. But at the same time, it's just, like I said, it's kind of like one of those buyer beware things. It's like, I don't remember seeing any terms and conditions that said this thing's going to inflate by 2.2x of whatever it was worth or whatever. But it's a cool vehicle. It's awesome. I like it. And I plan to still pick one up probably. Who knows? I'll end up probably paying full price next year and I get it because I want it. So
and next year when
it
it's like
too.
150.
it might go up. And
Actually,
also,
you buy it for whatever you got it because a lot of people are
It
still
might go
trying to
down.
get it, and you could, or it might go down or up.
I know. We'll see. It's like anything else. It could fluctuate in price like a commodity or like real estate.
Yeah.
These things can move too.
Well, yeah, have you guys seen these parking lots that are all over the United States where it's just Cybertrucks parked?
Yeah.
And like one person literally went through the entire lot and spray painted "fuck Tesla, fuck Elon" on all of them.
That's
Bro.
terrible. But a lot of the orders got canceled for the reasons that I said.
But what I'm saying is that now he's probably getting paid for those trucks anyways.
Maybe.
Right? Insurance money?
You can definitely write off the loss. I know that.
Yeah.
You're not selling them.
Like he
I'll
needs
take
to.
one if you want to sell it back to me at $47K.
So Steve,
Custom paint job, fuck it.
but you went.
Wrap it.
Yeah, no, I mean I've seen that a lot
I
too.
know. Everyone does that.
But Steve, so you went from doing, you're a corporate attorney.
Still am.
Yeah, still are. I know you still
Fantetti
are.
Legal's doing very well.
Yeah, Fantetti
Very
Legal.
well. Appreciate that.
But
Yeah, we shout you out on the pod
I
a lot.
appreciate
all the
that,
time.
man.
Every time we say
Looking
allegedly.
out. That's great.
But
Yeah.
then you decided to take a step into sports. You've always been about sports too. I mean,
Yeah.
you love sports.
I worked for another agency. I was a part owner of
Yeah.
another one. And I transitioned from being affiliated with them, doing some of the same stuff, but the role was just different. And I decided to just start my own this year after free agency was done and just moved away and started to do my own. I figured it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's a hard business to build up. It's all based on relationships. But, and I think you were getting to this point when you say the corporate lawyer thing is the skills that I've developed over the years in that are just so transferable to this side, especially with the way the athlete empowerment agency that I formed, the way we want to operate it. We're not just, doing your deal. And then once that's negotiated and you can start playing, we'll see you next time in free agency in 3, 4 years, whatever wherever you are. Or if you're an NIL player, we do your deal because we do college players as well. We represent them. If we do their NIL deal with a school or with a collective, excuse me, we got to be very careful on that. Once we negotiate that, well, we don't just say, bye, see you later next season when it's time to, maybe they want to keep you and give you another deal. We'll negotiate then. The athletes need around the clock attention, whether it's helping them with endorsement deals, marketing, how to run their social media, understand they need to set up an LLC. How do they structure that? How do they pay themselves? How do they budget? Should we introduce them to an investment advisor so that they can get advice on what to do with their money so it's working for them? They can create passive income opportunities. A lot of them don't understand money at a basic level. We have to kind of try to put some of these, instructional advice tools and give them background on the basics of what you should do, when you get some money for the first time. Because a lot of them don't know. They're just going to want to go buy stuff.
And that's the difference between you and an agent too. I mean, you're helping these people it's financially planning as well, with the money too. I mean, you're not just being like, all right, I signed you a 2-year contract, deuces. You're like,
yeah, we can't. I mean, you also have to be very careful.
Yeah.
The NFLPA has their own rules for licensed agents where like you can't give advice. You can only lead your players.
You can't give advice as an agent?
Not on like financial stuff. You have to be a certified financial planner with the NFLPA. So if you're a financial planner, you have to register with the NFLPA. They have to approve you. And if you're on that list, that's the only people that can actually work with NFL players.
Can't lawyers give advice?
Lawyers can give
financial?
advice. No, well, they should not. That's like taxes.
So it's only legal advice.
Yeah, think about it. Would you go to a dentist for heart surgery? No, you're not going to go to a lawyer for taxes because we're not tax professionals. And we don't hold ourselves out as that. And a lawyer should not. Now, lawyers might have...
No, about corporate structure. So what if you say, hey, if you do this and put this in a trust and then you put these assets there, you're protected? Well, I mean, is that considered financial advice? That's legal advice.
That's legal advice. But to give it at like the very basic level, if you set up an LLC and let's say you're a 1 or 2, man shop in the LLC and there's no entities that own the LLC, you're owning it in your personal name. Well, then you'd qualify for things like an S-Corp election if you wanted to file, right, a 2553. And then that would give you different tax savings than if you're just a partnership tax defaulting, right? Because there might be different things you can do to take the election. So that's given advice, but we don't tell them, guarantee where they're going to end up, or we don't guarantee that it might be the right strategy. It is a strategy to consider. And that I would always, like I tell clients now, is these are your options of how your entity could be taxed, but you should check with your tax professional to make sure that as you're running your business, these options are the best ones for you and which one to select. I don't tell them what to do.
And then you can also say, and these are some of the things you can invest in, but you should check with your financial advisor, right?
I don't really tell people what they should invest in. I'll introduce them to people that will give them good advice on what to do. We'll basically just give, standard advice from a legal perspective on how to kind of set up their situation from a business standpoint, or if they want to operate a business, which they are. I mean, the athletes, in a way, they are an enterprise, right? They generate revenue. They're well known. They have income coming in. They are going to have expenses, right? They're going to have costs, and they have to make sure that they are able to continue to be replicated every year where they can make the same things happen. And so we have to help them from that standpoint, but there's just so much more that goes into it because their football lives is such a short dash period in your life. Then if you don't maximize it, you don't make the right decisions during it, depending where things go, it could have a detrimental effect, hopefully not, or just a negative effect that you're like, I wish I would have done this one or two things differently. Yeah. If I had the right advice or the right guidance, or if I just listened when I had it, things would be a little bit better for me. Yeah. And it's great that no situation will ever be perfect, but if you can help an athlete, beyond just the playing field and help them beyond that a bit and make a difference in their lives, I think that means everything. So
what do you
have a duty to obviously do that.
Yeah, and is it the same way with the NCAA where they have a list and they also go, these are the people that you can only work with?
I'm glad you brought that up because it's a huge thing right now. The way the rules are changed. I don't know how much you guys know about college football, but it's a wild, wild west right now. So as you may know, if this takes us off the time, let me know.
No.
Because you can go deep on this.
Yeah, deep. Go ahead.
So the NCAA, you could never be paid as an athlete for anything besides what's considered educational benefits. It goes back to a 1984 case, the NCAA versus Oklahoma Board of Regents, where they were making decisions on when college athletes, could get anything besides their scholarship. And if it would be considered illegal and jeopardize your ability to be eligible to play the sport. Because if you're taking benefits that are considered illegal benefits, what are you violating? Amateur status. The reason why the NCAA's fought for athletes not to be paid is they want amateurism. They say, look, if you're a professional, then you should be in the professional ranks. But while you're in the NCAA, you are not a professional. You are an amateur, and therefore you're going to be treated like one. So what that means is you're not getting paid to play. What you get is what the educational benefits are that the NCAA allows. Those are scholarships, right? You get two free tickets to a game that you can give away to your family or something like that. You can't sell them, right? You might be able to be a grad student where you spent 4 years and you still have one more year of eligibility left. They can pay for you to do your master's. Like those are legal things.
Yeah.
Back then we didn't know, and that case kind of clarified that. Then several years later, you go to 2014 or so, and that Ed O'Bannon case came out. You guys remember that?
I do not.
That's where Ed O'Bannon was a former All-American basketball player at UCLA in the early 90s. And one day he's seeing this basketball video game EA Sports made, and he's like, the guy in UCLA who's 6'6", bald, wearing number 5, looks just like me, realizing, they made the video game based on my image and my likeness. They just didn't put my name there. And he's considered that to be a violation of the antitrust rules because he's saying that they are benefiting and creating anti-competitive behavior, which is what the antitrust statute was intended to prevent, meaning that they're suppressing his ability to make money off of his name, image, and likeness, but they're benefiting from it. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. And so the argument in that case wasn't whether college athletes should be paid, but you can see from the case progeny as I talk, as you work your way from Oklahoma Board of Regents to Ed O'Bannon to the Alston case, we'll talk about in a second, to the House case where we are now, is you'll see that there's a new rule made each time that led to athletes being able to get paid. And so from the O'Bannon case, we learn that athletes have a property right. NCAA your name, image, and likeness. Right? What's that? Sorry?
NCAA athletes, right?
Correct. Only college athletes. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Sorry if I said it too broadly. You're right. But all athletes do technically have a property right to your own, just like you do. You have a property right to your own name, image, and likeness. No one else should legally have the right to take it and profit from it without either your consent or you agreeing to be paid to let them use it or you licensing it out for a fee, whatever it could be. And so the court ruled that they have a property right. So from there, amateurism was still protected, but we learned that athletes have a property right for their name, image, and likeness. So once that case happened, it opened the floodgates for athletes to file class actions to say, well, if that's the case, all the NCAA football games that you've been playing, the new one's awesome, by the way. Yeah. My son plays it all the time. They're saying, well, then we should have been paid for all this stuff that happened all these times. Or jersey sales you sell. You might sell a jersey at Texas A&M that has the number 2 on it. Everyone knows that's Johnny Manziel's number, but you didn't put Manziel on the back, and he's not getting a cut from those jersey sales. So now they're saying we should be paid for that. And so as a result of this,
they got paid because the college athletes.
Well, they didn't get paid from that. What happened was they had to bring a case.
Steve Garcia told us that he got paid from EA Sports because is that what it was?
Yeah.
Or
he says that they cut everybody a check that they had their image or the people.
I don't know when that was.
Yeah,
but all I know is back then you could not receive non-educational benefits until recently.
No, yeah, this happened recently.
Well,
That's
what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
so as long as your name, image, likeness is being used in a video game, like they just came out with from the Alston case, they said, look, we recognize your property right. We understand the NCAA has an amateur status rule, and the court struck a balance in Alston basically saying, look, we're not going to say that you should be paid directly to play because that's what pros are paid to play. So they left the amateur status issue in question and still standing. But they said you can make money off name, image, and likeness. And one of the things they said is if it's going to be used from an affiliated matter, they're going to be able to pay you. The video game this year that just came out was the first time athletes were paid on a video game. I don't know why he got paid on it because he's not in
No, he didn't get paid for that video game. He got paid for the video games.
So he's in the settlement, which is what we'll get to next. That's the house case. We'll get to that. But he shouldn't have got his money yet, but maybe he did. But the payments don't go out until next year. But I do know it only goes back 10 years. And I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, for the Alston case, just to kind of wrap it up.
May have been for jersey sales. I don't know. It was for one of the
Or his school made it on I don't know. Maybe South Carolina did.
On the
I don't want to question.
On the podcast, he's the one who said it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I would trust him.
Listen to that podcast. Actually, it comes out today. Season 2, episode 8.
Anytime Steven Garcia is on, listen to him. See, that guy's awesome. Yeah,
hot takes.
He's the man. Hot takes. We'll tell you what's on his mind. No filter. I love that about him. And he's a great quarterback coach.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Spin it athletics.
Spin it athletics. My son goes them. He's amazing.
Awesome.
So from there, people don't realize because of the Alston case, that's how collectives came about. You guys know what collectives are, right?
No.
So collectives are individual, usually 501c3s. They can't be the university. Once the universities found out that you could pay once universities found out that college athletes can make money and monetize off their name, image, and likeness, but they couldn't get paid from the school because that's called pay for play, they had to find a different way to get the money to these players now. So to do that, they created these things called collectives. A collective is an independent body, like I said, usually a 501c3 or an LLC. It can't be owned by the university. It's completely separate.
But is it though?
It's usually, it technically on paper, if you showed the trail of that, you'd be in violation. Your program would be under sanctions for a long time. But of course, there's like boosters and people who raise money and they get donations to it. And they basically shake their tin cup and ask people to donate money so they can build up this stockpile of money. And then they can use it to get players to say, look, come to our school and we'll pay you X amount of money to be here. But because it's not pay for play, you can give an athlete $500,000 to play at an institution. A collective can, the school can't. But you have to do something for that money. You have to earn it, they said. Playing is not enough. So with those contracts and when you negotiate a collective deal, it'll have things like, you have to show up for certain personal appearances. You got to do podcasts weekly for the university sports program, sign memorabilia. You have to post on social media a certain number of times about the school or the collective. So that way they're saying, look, we're giving you $500K to do that. We're not giving it to you to play football, even though we know they're coming to the school to play football for the money. But that's the way around the rule.
What is the benefit for a collective getting a player to go to a certain university? Why would they want them to go to that university?
It's theirs. So the collective of LSU recruits to get players to go to LSU. But you just said
that the university and the collective cannot be associated with each other on paper, right? So what is the benefit the collective has to get these players and send them to LSU if it's LSU collective? Mm-hmm. How are they profiting?
So think about this. If the coach at LSU says, I want so-and-so player from Florida, he's the number 1 ranked receiver in the state of Florida. How do we get him? Well, LSU will recruit him. The collective will somehow find out that they're recruiting that player. And when it's time for signing day to be coming pretty soon, well, either the player's representative might call the collective and say, oh, I represent so-and-so, who's number 1 ranked player out of Florida. I hear LSU's recruiting him. If you want him, the price is X or something like that.
How does the collective make money, though?
They don't. That's the point.
So, bro, they are owned by the university.
That's why collectives might die because they're not making any money. They're just spending it. They don't make money on anything. The whole point is to
So
get
it's
the
a
player to go to
nonprofit
school.
almost, is what it sounds
Well,
like.
they'll do that obviously to avoid taxes and some other things. But at the same time,
that sounds like a fucking scam, bro.
I mean, the whole thing's just crazy. So it's Wild Wild West, and then all of a sudden you find out now that's the only way that players can be paid technically to make money and not being paid from the institutions. That's not right. It's against the rules because it violates amateurism. So now then some athletes. This swimmer at Arizona State, House is his last name, hence the case House versus NCAA. That's the most recent one where it was a class action. A settlement was reached, but it's currently being approved by the court. Once the court approves the settlement, it's going to open the floodgates now where players can be paid technically directly from the university. Because it's taken away the amateur status. It's going to be gone.
So then now it's going to be semi-pro.
That's literally what it's like.
Minor league.
Where a player could be going to a college and the college could say, we're going to offer you a 2, 3, 4-year deal. Here's what we're going to get. Here's what you're going to make every year. And it can come directly from the school.
So there's really, the NFL is going to lose out on a lot of players because now.
Well, they won't. Because why? If you're a student, you can only play for 4 years.
What if the student says, I'm done playing because I made all the money I need. I no longer want to go to the NFL.
Yeah,
I'm going to stay here.
Find me a player who's going to say that. I guarantee you that's a very small number.
Hey, but some of the numbers
they got a master's degree in law.
They're not worried about that.
No, but some of the players aren't even,
they're not good enough to play in the NFL.
Exactly, exactly.
This is the only time they have to make money.
Exactly.
So it's really for them too. If you're in the NFL, the rule to play in the NFL is you have to be 3 years removed from high school. So as long as you do that, the good guys are going to want to play at the highest level. There's more money in the NFL than there is in college, at least right now.
For now. Yeah.
And you have better opportunities to make money off the field when you're an NFL player. Brands technically will want to work with NFL players. But college players are getting their money, as you can see. Shador Sanders has a ton of deals.
I have a question about that.
There's a very small number of players that are in that category.
So his is $5.4 million.
Whose? His valuation?
Shador's.
All right, I know it's different everywhere, but there's a valuation.
Whatever is that per year or is that for the duration of his college career?
The total of what he basically, they're saying, look, this is what his earning status is about. All the deals combined that he can get or has gotten is around $5 million.
Per year.
Just total right now.
Right now. So it can go up. That number can go up.
Of course it can. They're just saying right now, whenever you see that number, that's what he's at right now. His On3 valuation. If On3 Sports is making that metric measurement.
Do you like him, Steve? Do you think he's a good good enough, or do you think it's just Deion?
I think Shador Sanders is the best quarterback in college football.
Archie Manning?
No, I'm saying I think right now Shador Sanders is the best. I think his skills translate. I think he's better than Cam Ward, and Cam Ward's probably right there. Cam Ward's great. I think there's things that I think Cam Ward's more athletic than Shador, but I think Shador's intangibles and the way he passes, his accuracy is better. The way he reads a defense, he stays in the pocket better. Cam Ward tends to get out, but he's also athletic and can run better. But Shador also can run. But I just think pedigree-wise, how he stays calm, the way he reads defenses, I think he's the best pro quarterback prospect right now. Cam Ward's right there.
Damn, that's
They're
awesome.
probably 1-2 or 1A, 1B.
Yeah, 1-2. I saw a mock draft and it was Cam Ward or Shador.
You could interchange them any day.
Flip-flop all the time.
That's my preference. Some would say otherwise.
All right, guys, when we get back with Happy Hour Holidays, I'm loving the topic. I love talking about sports, and Steve always brings it jam-packed with educational, informational shit. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all our new gear, T-shirts, and Sean's resume on Indeed. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back at Happy Hour Holidays in the studio today for Brave Frameworks. Place? Yeah.
Place is solid, bro.
Saber Sweets.
There it is. Where's the name from?
So it's Vince Serrano's last name and Fabre's last name combined. So Sabre.
That Fabre name's carrying some weight around here.
Yeah, about time, dude. Hey, so we were watching all over the place. You can bet on everything. Steve said he had a 3-leg parlay on Senators.
Senator races? Honestly kidding. There's nowhere to place those bets. They're just saying,
you can.
People are betting on that for real?
On Polymarket.
Oh, yeah.
Are you serious?
Dead ass,
no, actually, you know
I can't believe that's legal.
So, let me tell you why it's legal, because what they use is cryptocurrency.
It's not U.S. dollars.
And that was the crypto thing, because this morning I opened
crypto
up.
Still a thing? I still have some, by the way.
I mean, no, it's actually about to run up now, man. It's the time to have it.
Said everybody every week.
Yeah, exactly. After,
allegedly, by the way.
No,
we don't want people making investment decisions on that advice.
After Bitcoin halves, there's usually a run. You know, I could say.
Is that what happened?
Man, he's like,
I mean, I've seen it.
Gas about to go up. It's going on a run every week. It always goes up.
But no, I opened up freaking Robinhood today, and I'm like, they have contracts, option contracts that you can buy on Kamala and
Are you serious?
On Robinhood?
That's
Robinhood.
wild.
Yeah, and they're like worth like they're at 40s.
10-leg parlay.
I know.
Bernie Sanders is gonna win.
Bernie Sanders.
The Vermont Senate race is huge right now.
So I mean, with both candidates, there's a lot of there's a lot of likes and dislikes on them. Steve, what's your take on the two candidates?
Got election days coming, baby. Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
November 5th. This might come out after that.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh,
what? Keep that in mind, guys. When you see this, the election's already over.
We are not going to get into results. But
yeah. They might be over. Okay, because last time it was election month. So I mean,
it does take longer than it used to when we were younger.
I know. When I was younger,
it was night of.
Yeah, it was night of.
I went to bed at 10. I already knew Clinton was going to be president or something 1990s. You know what I mean? That's how old we are. But
we.
That material's crazy quality good. Wow.
But it's
I
just
thought my shirt was good. Man, it's like I got to touch the shirt.
I was like, let me get this guy a hug. I was like, damn.
I think I saw you just reach down to feel the pants too.
Yeah, I know George Costanza did that on Seinfeld. And they were like, he was like, oh yeah, I just touched her material and I got a date with her. Yeah. He touches the material and she's like, you fucking weirdo.
That's what I said. No. But yeah, you're 100% right.
So I mean, it's a very. It's politics and elections have come to a point where it's not something friendly or cordial.
No, man,
it's something very. It's
divisive.
Yeah. So what is your take right now on both candidates, Steve?
There's good and bad of each one, right?
Yeah.
I agree. I think.
But what do you like? Let's say, what do you like out of the Harris Walls campaign right now?
Yeah. No, it's funny because.
You like Walls that he's been the politician who visited China the most times out of everybody?
Did he really? I didn't even know.
Or the fact that he carried a weapon in battle?
Allegedly. I don't know.
Allegedly.
I don't know. I was hearing different things about that.
That's a shirt that
or that Kamala's from a middle-class family.
I heard that's true too, though. All I know is, I mean, I don't have a preference one or the other. I'll have to vote and make a decision then. But I will tell you, it's interesting if you're a presidential historian, because if you look at the race, right, 6 months ago,
she wasn't in it.
It was a Biden-Trump part 2, right?
Yep.
So that's what people were thinking. And it's like Kamala, you almost call your accidentality or whatever the hell the word was, where it's like an accident where it's like you weren't expecting to be president. And then all of a sudden, you're stepping in now, and it's like you have to go on a run in a quick amount of time and convince people that, even though you couldn't really do anything as vice president, that you can do all these things now. And that's a hard sell, I think. And that's
as a lawyer, was that legal?
What's that?
Her being able to supersede.
She's legally on the ballot as the vice president.
Okay. So
if the president steps down.
So could anybody else have then stepped up? Than
it was all
Kamala?
done legally. They have a process. It's called the Democratic National Convention. And they have to nominate someone to be the party's nominee for president of the United States in the next election. They did that, and she prevailed.
Even though she was on the ballot as vice president when the people voted in the primaries, correct?
But it's irrelevant. This is what people don't know about about any convention, Republican or Democrat, is when you do a floor vote at the convention.
The delegates.
Correct. They can nominate the guy who's serving the sandwiches on the second floor of the arena. It doesn't matter. It's who gets the delegates and prevails on the floor vote at the convention.
So then the people's vote. So the people's vote means nothing, is what I'm hearing.
Well, the people's vote does matter.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely,
because the delegates can vote however they want.
Well, I respect your opinion.
Is that not true? What you just stated?
That's not true.
You just said that they could vote for the guy serving sandwiches.
They could. They just didn't elect that person because that person might not have the experience to go to Washington.
But if they wanted to, they could.
Of course.
Which means that
just like when you go vote,
the people's vote in the primary means nothing.
When you go vote,
that is literally what it says.
I'm
you're talking about the electoral.
I'm going to write in Sean Fabre on my ballot when I vote.
I was thinking about doing that.
You can write in anybody
just
you want.
so I can say presidential vote, one vote. I'm good with that, dog. I'm going to add that to the resume on Indeed. Been on a presidential
career
ballot.
builder, whatever that thing's called. He's everywhere, folks. You can find him. He also changes toilet seats and stuff too. No,
Oh.
Hey, I did do this.
there you go. See, this is legitly done.
Yeah.
I thought Brian Reich did that. No.
Be right.
I gotta hire my guy. I love him. I need to help out. I got something going on in my house. I might need him to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so delegates,
Well,
all
hold
right,
on me, B.
elected Kamala
Not
Harris.
elect. Well, the election elects her. All they're saying is that the Democratic Party selects her as the nominee because she met the criteria to be qualified.
And what was the criteria?
Well, the criteria is number one, did you fill out the paperwork properly? Are you a properly legally recognized candidate for office? Once that happens, you've met the criteria.
When's the deadline for that?
Then-
is it
I don't know,
before
you
the
can
DNC?
Look it up. Oh, it's well before. You have to get your paperwork in.
So
of
she
course.
already knew she was gonna be able to.
Oh, she
Well-
knew. It's
well,
a,
I mean,
it's a
she-
form.
Well, I know.
And you have to get a certain amount of
Signature?
signatures.
Because I'm just
Steve,
and then you
curious about
submit
this.
them. No, I can answer your question.
Steve, on your opinion, was the debate with Joe Biden and Donald Trump that bad where he needed to be replaced that day?
That was the only reason why.
That's a great question.
That's the
I
only
think
reason why.
it was that bad, but it was bad on both sides. They were both equally terrible in that
Yeah.
debate.
They were talking about golf.
Well, because
Thank you.
Trump is
And that's
petty.
why it's so hard
like,
for me to vote
It's just like focus on
on
the
a
policy.
candidate now to know who I want until election day
Yeah.
because there was no substance.
There wasn't.
And there still isn't.
There hasn't been. I mean,
That's a downside. You talk about downsides of Kamala Harris. There's downsides of Trump where I remember seeing all the clips where he says, I have this great healthcare plan when he was in 2015, when he was running 2016, and he goes into office.
Yeah, I was trying to repeal.
He still hasn't
Obamacare.
presented an actual healthcare plan, and he still can't articulate one.
He wasn't able to.
It's
find
okay
it. Yeah.
because solving healthcare is not easy, as we know. But at the same time, if you're going to say you have the best plan that's ever been invented in terms of plans,
whoa,
that's a good accent.
Tell me-
that was awesome.
tell me the plan. Give me some bullet points. There's no bullet points. There's just nothing. So that bothers me because, and again, that's just me. It doesn't mean he's not a good candidate. But if you're trying to reach a voter who's like me, I want substance and policy. Some people are policy wonks, some are not. I want people who present solutions.
So can we get some
Some
bullet
people
points?
don't care. They like the people who's best looking. They like people who's the most articulate.
No, people are
They
funny.
like Obama, man. The guy is articulate. He could speak well. He could explain his positions. People like that. Some
Can we
people
get
say,
any
I like the guy
policies?
who's anti-establishment and who says F the establishment. That's what they vote on. That's okay. You can be a single issue voter. I'm voting for this guy because he's going to cut taxes. There's people out there who vote on, and they're allowed to. In a democracy, you can vote on any principle that is important to you because your vote's going to get counted, and that's the way it goes.
Can we
Let me
get
cut you off? Go ahead.
Can we get any policy bullet points on how Kamala Harris intends to improve the economy?
You have to ask her. She's the one who presents the bullet points. She said,
have you
I
heard
think-
any of
course
from
I
her?
have.
Yeah, give me one
But
that
again,
you've heard.
Are they expansive enough for me? No. Like, for instance, when someone says to you, like Kamala Harris, I'll give you an example. When
Please
she
do.
says, we're going to keep the cost of groceries down, you can say that. How are you going to keep the cost of? Because we know there's been an inflation issue. So you have
So
to.
neither
you-
one can
you
give
have to
bullet
connect-
points on their policy. Is what you're telling me
in
right
my
now.
opinion,
That's what I'm hearing.
I have
don't
not.
know.
Exactly.
Both of them
You could
have said
it.
nothing.
You could have said it less better, but still right. Which is neither of them have articulated the specific information that can tell a voter how they're going to do it. Now, is that difficult? Yes. Is it typical? No. It's hard to do that because you still have to write it into a bill. You still have to get Congress to ratify whatever a president might want to put a bill to the floor. The president can't unilaterally write policy, although that's a debatable point because there are
Executive orders.
presidential signing statements and executive orders.
Yeah.
But technically, you
They have a
can't-
limitation, though.
Yeah, there's a check and balance system on purpose. There's the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches. They're separate. It's a tripartite government. It's what our country was founded upon, so that we wouldn't have a monarchy, right? There's a check and balance on
So
each.
what we have is a constitutional
house.
republic, correct?
Well, that's what we're supposed to have. That's what they gave it to us. If we can keep it, is what the founders said, right? If you can keep it. Now, is it the best form of government? No, I think it was Ben Franklin who said, right, a constitutional democracy or republic is the best kind of government, except for anything else that you can find that's better than it, which we haven't found yet, is what we think.
I can't.
I just
Think of
don't
it.
think the
I can't
system.
think of it.
Like everything's been modernized. I mean, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking that are we in the best system for our country at this point in time?
The best one that we know of, yes, of course. Because if you didn't have democracy, what would you have?
No, but-
Fascism, monarchies where the people don't have a say, or you have situations where there's no capitalistic rights, where you can't rationally pursue profits, create your own business, be an entrepreneur, and go to the top without any cap on what you can make. right? There's certain countries like the doctor makes it like Sweden. I think the doctor makes as much as a teacher. So if we don't want to live in that, then we stay here. If we want to live in that, then we can move, or sometimes your circumstance won't allow you to move out of a country and you're stuck in
What's
that.
your take with all this?
But the founders came here on purpose to create a situation where there's that kind of freedom. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, what would you say is your take on all the celebrities that say, if Trump gets elected, I'm moving?
They've been saying
and
that
then they never do.
2020.
And then they never do. And not only that, they want to go to your holy land.
My holy land, what, Canada?
Canada.
Hey, Canada's a great place to live. I don't blame them. It's just not where I want to live right now.
Yeah.
But it's a great country. I would live there any chance. I just got back from there. I went there to see my parents, celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving.
Canadian Thanksgiving?
There's Canadian Thanksgiving?
What the hell is Canadian Thanksgiving?
It is the exact same thing, based on the exact same premise. We pretty much eat the exact same food. It just happened at a different time than America.
Are you shitting me?
America,
dude, this is news.
That is news.
This is news to me.
How is this news? Everybody's known this since the history of
Canadian
time.
Thanksgiving. I've never. What's it called? What's the holiday called?
It's called Thanksgiving.
No fucking way.
Oh my God, you guys are killing. What do they teach you in school?
Not Canadian
about yours.
Not
and they have the
Canadian
CFL games too.
They
Right?
know the CFL game. I think that's funny as hell.
You're not only Canadian.
I'm actually a dual citizen.
Exactly.
But I am American.
That's why you know about both countries.
That's right. Well, no. Well, I mean, I knew all this before I got
either
here.
way, it doesn't matter.
I became a citizen in 2019 of the U.S.
Just to vote for.
But it doesn't matter. You can vote either way.
Almost got it out of
I got in under Trump's administration.
So let me ask you a question. Can you go to Canada, vote, and then come to the U.S. and vote?
No. You have to have established residency.
No, but you're a U.S. citizen in Canada.
You can be a citizen.
I mean, you're a citizen in Canada.
Doesn't mean
you're
you
a
can
citizen.
vote.
Oh, okay.
Because it's where you live. 6 months and a day out of the year. You can't just show up in Canada one day and be like, yeah, I pay no taxes here. I don't enjoy the benefits and protections of Canada's laws, but I'm going to vote on who becomes prime minister. They're like, no, bro, if you can keep your citizenship, which means you can come back here and want to live and start that process.
What about 6
But
months?
until you do it, yes. Well, like in Canada, if you're a citizen and you don't live 6 months and a day in Canada, you'll lose your free healthcare.
Well, I like how they
I
add
don't
that.
have it.
I like how they add that day.
Well, it matters because your residency is what requires you to
matter
get
on-
these benefits,
does it
like
matter-
voting.
Does it matter on leap year?
I don't know. You should ask that question.
Because leap year is
I'm pretty sure they take
6
that into
months
consideration.
and 2 days.
I'm
There
pretty
you
sure
go.
they take that into consideration, of
Probably.
course. But I haven't lived in Canada in a long
Does Canada
time.
have Christmas? I'm just curious.
Of course, and it's got Boxing Day the day after is a holiday too.
Isn't
you guys don't have that here.
Boxing
in the States.
Day is English.
Correct. They have it in London, England, and they
Yeah.
have it here because we still have allegiance to the Queen.
Oh. No, the king.
The constitutional monarchy.
king.
Now it's a king. You're
Yeah,
right, King Charles. For however long he may reign. But
he's looking pretty old, man.
I mean, his son is next, right?
Yeah, and he's young.
I mean, with all
he's
that
like
money,
a couple years older than me. I think he's like 41 or 42.
For real?
I don't understand.
Yeah,
with
sure,
all
I
that
didn't know
money,
that.
hair implants, the teeth. I mean, just get them done.
Bro, but that's
Man,
the English
nah,
style.
That's right, the English
That's
style.
The
baby.
baldness? Yeah, lose
What's
your
his
hair,
name?
fuck up your teeth.
Not Harry. Harry's the younger brother. The older William is the next in line, I think, to the throne. And Harry's way down because William had kids, so his kids come before
well,
Harry.
Harry's gone. He's no longer
Well, he
allowed to
abdicated, I
succeed.
think. I
Yeah.
think he's trying to go back now. I don't know.
I mean,
living in
he's
Spain
banging
now,
out
but-
Meghan Markle.
I
dog.
know. The money checks ain't the same, aren't they? But
what was her name in
we got
Suits? I know
Meghan
you know it.
Markle.
Meghan Markle's name in
But her name
Suits?
was
Yeah,
Rachel.
yeah. Rachel, yeah.
That was a great show.
Yeah,
dude.
I know.
Isn't it funny that Mike Ross kind of looked like Harry, except with red hair?
I don't see any
No.
resemblance
They're both
whatsoever.
white.
No.
Nah,
And they're
not at
both
all.
clean shaven.
Nah, noses
No.
are different, hair's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus,
Anyway,
he's
we're getting
a-
way off that.
Okay.
To get back to it, the
Neither
Canadian
candidate
Thanksgiving
has
thing, it's based on the same
pull up
thing.
bullet points.
Well, I just want to say Canadian
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Canada became a country in the 1800s. The U.S. became a country in the 1700s. So Canada's a baby country compared to the
1776,
U.S.
yeah.
Correct. So I think 1867 was Canada Day's July
shit.
1st. You guys' Independence Day is July 4th.
Oh.
So Thanksgiving, though, was still based on the same premise where pilgrims come over. They just didn't make it to this side of the world. They went to Canada. So and settled, and that's when they had their own.
And
So,
didn't Russia own almost the majority of northwestern Canada?
not to my recollection. All I do
Because
know,
I know
is
they owned Alaska
and sold it
Yeah.
to the States
Yeah.
for like $10 or something. No, it was
It was $5 million.
I thought it was like 30 million. Was it 5 million?
I think it was
With
$5 million
inflation,
back
maybe it's 30.
back in
Yeah.
like fucking 18 something.
Yeah. So
yeah.
anyway, we're getting off topic. So
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
so
yeah.
to get back to what we were saying about the Harris thing and then the Trump thing, like I'm saying, is you asked me before we kind of got off the rails was has she articulated
Any bullet
specifics?
points?
And I just told you
No,
it's
she didn't.
difficult
Yeah.
because she says
I grew up in a middle class family.
well, what I'm trying to say is every single candidate has presented some kind of point about what they plan to do with their administration if they got into office and the change that they want to make.
Can't do it without
every
Congress.
candidate's supposed to. Whether that candidate's telling the truth, whether they'll follow through with it, that is a independent voter's decision to decipher that and decide who they want to vote for.
But that's where I go back to the career politicians, man. It's so hard to vote
term
for
limits
those
for all of the legislative branch.
I mean, I don't know, Steve, if you kind of agree with this, but I would say I don't think all businessmen are the best for politics. But at the same time, somebody who knows how to run a billion-dollar company wouldn't be better.
I love that you said this.
Well, only because I'm just like,
it's like Mark Cuban be president, or Bill Ackman, or these guys who are big on Wall Street that have crushed it. Jamie Dimon, the head of J.P. Morgan Chase. Yeah. The problem is this.
Don't you think they're going to operate our economy like a business, which is in turn going to get us out of debt? Because career politicians, what do they know? They know how to, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, but they never do it.
I love what you're saying.
I just got a great idea for the executive branch.
What's that?
Okay, you know how there's two in the legislative branch, the Congress and the Senate?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
So what if the executive branch has something similar, one for economics, one for social policy, elect two.
What, two presidents?
Not two presidents. They'd be like
they already have a cabinet.
You would have no president. Yeah. You would have no presidents. It would just
Who's making the decisions?
Well, it would be
you need an ultimate decision maker, which is what the president does.
So so how about this? Two presidents, one just for economic policy.
What if they don't
agree? And then
agree?
One just for social policy.
What if they don't agree? You're saying one can only handle social issues.
That's it. And
so
the other one can only handle economic policy. Now, Did I just come up with a new form of government that makes sense?
Absolutely not. But what I will tell you is, well, because
how does that not work?
Because number one, you can't make policy like that in 10 seconds. You have to think the whole thing through and see the whole board.
You don't need to think about social issues.
So, for example,
economic policy, in my opinion.
Who, me?
No, I'm saying a person, one.
Well, I don't know.
Does not All I know is to take social issues when making economic policies.
I disagree. I think they're going to coincide as a plan. There's going to be a conflict somewhere.
I don't see
where
how.
They're going to intersect. I mean, I think you can make an economic decision that'll have social implications. I think you can make a social implication where no matter what, there's going to be a financial aspect to it. So they're going to intersect. And that's why I think you're going to have a standstill between these two people, and you're going to have a dispute resolution mechanism to decide whose decision is going to prevail.
An arbiter.
Well, right. But why would you do that?
Which you could go to the legislative branch.
Which can take how long? And then you can have one guy make the decision, or girl that you voted into office, and then they can take it from there. And then their check and balance is the legislature. You already have that. So, in my opinion, I'm not saying
you really don't, because what we live in.
That's your opinion. I respect it.
Well, no, I mean, what we live in is when you go to Congress and they try to pass a bill, it is a standstill. Whoever has the majority of the House typically is passing the bill. Whoever has the majority of the Senate is typically passing the bill. What you rarely
Unless
see,
the president vetoes it and sends it back.
What you rarely see is bipartisan.
Right? You might not. Yeah. Maybe it's a wake up call and say, oh, maybe the president has enough clout to veto it, and people say, yeah, we should align with the president on this. It's very rare. I think Clinton's the last guy really had that kind of clout. But.
Well, what usually you see is when legislature is being passed, it is usually partisan. It is not bipartisan. That is usually what it is, unless the government is shutting down.
I think you're right. I think you have a better chance.
There is no checks and balances right now as it stands, because
I disagree.
Bro, if you have liberals majority in the Congress and then you have Republicans majority in the Senate, as soon as it passes the Congress, it's going to get stopped in the Senate.
Well, right. So
nothing ever gets done, bro. Nothing ever gets done.
You're not wrong. Just don't say there's no checks and balances.
There really isn't.
It's just what you're seeing now is you're seeing everybody in the party saying that because we're in the blue side of things, if we're Democrats or Republicans, that we're all going to vote together. Versus back in the day, you might have some Republicans who like an issue that the Democrats put to the floor. Yeah. That's why a bipartisan piece of legislation has a better chance of passing, because that means they both had a say in what goes into the bill.
But you don't see that frequently.
Well, it's definitely rare. But I think what's important to get back to is your point. Which is, you said, shouldn't just a business guy who's ruled the world and multi-billionaire or whatever, successful guy, be the president? Of course, that is a proposal that can make sense. But the problem with why a lot of those guys, like we learned, like when Bloomberg ran and some of these guys, is they don't understand. Yes, they might be successful in what they did, but it's a different arena. They've never had to deal with Congress or the Supreme Court and all these different checks and balances. You might have a board of directors.
But what about
a lot of times the board of directors are going to do what you want.
But negotiation, Steve, I mean,
it's a skill. So find a candidate who at least has some of that skill. But again, I'm not saying a business guy shouldn't be president. I can give you two right now, which I will not say, that I think would be great candidates and would be great presidents. But the problem is,
why won't you say them?
Because I just don't want to. But there is a situation to consider that if you've never been on the Hill and you don't have experience.
Ooh, on the Hill. He's using political jargon right now.
It's just the truth. If you don't have experience on how to pull the levers of power up there, because I'm telling you, people think that they can create change because in their neighborhood, they're really good at what they do. And again, God bless them. Maybe you can. But it's a different world up there.
This ain't the HOA.
And if you have worked on Wall Street your whole you've worked on Wall Street your whole life, it's different than working in trying to convince these people who might have been in their seat for decades, like a Lindsey Graham or a Bernie Sanders, to all of a sudden, because you are who you are, they're going to just agree with what you say? No, because their job when you're in Congress is to represent the citizens of your location and jurisdiction in which you operate, right? Steve, your constituency. They don't necessarily care that you might have been on Shark Tank or you might have done this or that. It's whatever you're pitching. I don't think it's good for my people in Vermont or my people in Montana. And that's what these elected representatives are supposed to be doing.
Steve, are we falling behind as a nation because we're having two parties that go into office and we make all these policies? The next party comes in, regresses all the parties. The next person comes in, regresses their
signs. We saw it with Trump. We saw it with Trump.
And you saw it with Joe Biden too.
Yeah, there's an argument that Trump created the ability for Iran now to have a lot of freedom because Obama's Iran deal hamstrung them from being able to do a lot of things with nuclear power, support factions that were doing, bad acts in Israel and Palestine right now. There's an argument that if Trump didn't undo that deal, that it would have said, is that true? We don't know, but there's an argument. So my point is, yes, things like this can be regressed, overturning Obamacare. People are left without having
Obamacare
care for pre-existing conditions. No, but he tried to, is what I'm saying. He's saying trying to just undo what was in the past.
No, he's saying he does undo. The first day in office, Biden, he signed 37 or vetoed 37 executive orders that Trump had. Yeah. Number one and foremost being the Keystone Pipeline. Both parties are doing the same shit every single time a new party comes into the White House.
That's what he's saying. It stagnates growth of the country.
And so it goes like this, like this, like this, like this.
But then again, can you have a monarchy where you have a king or a queen?
Yeah, but then now you're regressing even more.
It's no longer a constitutional republic. I'm with you. I'd rather have the other. Because again, the founders knew this could all happen. If people think they never foresaw this, I think they did. And I think at the end of the day, to wrap this point up before you go to break, is at the end of the day, would you rather have the people try to figure it out, which is what they said? We have a constitution. If you want to amend it to fit the times. And if you want to do that to help you get and bridge the gap to where you want to be at, then do it. But if not, you're going to have to work together to figure it out. Otherwise, if you want to choose a different kind of government, go ahead. But that might not be better than the one you've got.
We get back with Happy Hour Holidays. Is it smarter to amend the Constitution? We'll be right back.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
We're back with Happy Hour Holidays with your guest host, 3-time Emmy Award-winning T-shirt maker.
Chief Marketing Officer
and carpenter,
Framework,
car washer.
Steve,
actually, I have done carpentry.
Like I said, the resume continues.
I just not something I want to,
Indeed.
Pressure washing.
He's crushing it.
He's going to Monster Jobs next.
And he also changes light bulbs.
And I can turn them on too.
No, look at that. There you go.
Steve, what do obviously times continue to grow. Technology has been an influence in our society. Do you think the Constitution is out of date? Do you think it needs to be modernized? What's your take on the Constitution right now?
Give it a hot take.
Give it a hot.
Damn, that's a loaded question.
It's like,
how much time we got?
Hot. Right now, 22 minutes and 45 seconds.
Because we still want to touch the other subjects that were.
I'm going to give you an answer you're going to hate, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion because I should be giving you that.
It's still in date.
Well, no,
okay.
It's clearly not in date because it was created a long time ago. I would say that there's absolutely components of the Constitution that could be updated and changed.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Thank you. I think you could argue every year it's out of date because every year society is either progressing or different factors are happening in society that can affect issues with it. Like, for instance, right, who our allies are overseas or what we're spending money on, or as technology changes, how we legislate and govern. So all of those things can impact whether or not your Constitution is up to date. The good thing is that the framers created the Constitution in a way that said, look, we understand we're making this today, right, in the 1700s. We understand that time is going to change as we move on and we won't be here anymore, we being the framers. And so therefore, they put an amendments clause in the state. If you think this thing needs to be changed, there's an amendments clause in it. You can do it, get 2/3 of the states, whatever, to agree to whatever it is that the language I don't have top of my head, but I know it's something like that.
Yeah.
Then, of course, then you can amend the Constitution, which has been done. I think the last amendment was done in like the 50s, I think, or something like that.
Do you know what that one was?
I don't remember off the top of my head. But I do know that you definitely can see that there's arguable things in the Constitution that people say, right, need to be changed because they could be outdated. The problem is, on the other side, just to understand both sides of it, is that you have to understand that when you're analyzing the Constitution, there comes down to it a intent, which means was the intent of it to be expanded, or was the intent to cover the issue as it was stated at that time? And I think as people debate about that point, I firmly believe that the framers created the Constitution not to have it written as it was supposed to be on the time that they wrote it. It was supposed to be a living, flexible document that over time, the language can still carry weight to be used to today.
I agree with that because they did put in the Constitution that it can be amended.
That's what I just said.
So they
Amendments
foresaw
clause.
that. Yeah, exactly.
You're
I agree
100%
with you
right.
on that
And
one.
so that's why when people argue things like, which are a very contentious point, and I don't want to get into a debate about it here, nor do we have the time. But when people argue like,
oh, he's talking about guns.
Second Amendment, correct.
Well,
Like,
look at that. Saw that
do
one
you think
coming.
the framers knew that there would be a better weapon than a pitchfork? I think they did think that there would be.
A pitchfork, huh? Because they didn't have cannons.
The joke is, okay, but fine. They didn't have, grenade
got a
launchers
cannon?
back then either. I do, actually. This thing can throw the ball 60 yards.
That's not what Steven said. He said he saw you throw the ball and it barely got to 20 yards.
He didn't say that.
No, he
I know
didn't.
for a fact
No,
he
he
didn't
didn't say
Actually,
that.
I was an all-city quarterback in high school in Canada.
I'm saying, Coach would have put me in fourth quarter, we would have been state champs. No
Steals
doubt about
Mountains, I
it.
can throw the ball.
Uncle Rico.
I could never be state champ in Canada because we have provinces. But that's my joke all the time.
But yes, we do.
No.
They did have grenade launchers back there
They did
because
not.
a lot of
They
those
did not.
cannonballs were explosive.
But they weren't grenades.
Bro, a grenade is essentially an explosive cannonball. Cannonballs created more damage than grenades.
I mean, I don't know if we should be debating that, but I will if you want. A grenade is a completely different weapon than a cannonball.
Yeah, you don't need a cannon to throw a grenade.
Or a
Yeah.
pitchfork.
Thank you. And a cannonball is just a ball. A grenade is actually an explosive device. A cannonball just hits things and creates disruption. An actual grenade explodes. The item is no longer there anymore, and it's filled with pieces of metal that just go shrapnel that go everywhere. Completely different. That's what I'm saying. Completely different weapons.
Pretty sure they had explosive cannonballs, but audience, fact check us.
Fact check. Yeah, exactly. If I'm wrong, great. Maybe
Yeah.
there was explosive cannonballs back in the 1700s.
Pretty sure
I
there
doubt
was.
that. For sure.
Gunpowder has been.
Of course, they
around
had
forever.
gunpowder. They used to fill the. Remember, you could take one shot. You had to put that
explosive.
stick in to
Yeah.
clear the pipe out to put the new thing in.
Steve,
To get back to
no,
it.
yeah, finish it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Point I was
Finish
saying is
the
that
train
you
of
could
thought.
argue that the Second Amendment people argue that it's out of date because they think that it was only contemplating weapons at that time. But the point is no, the Second Amendment was stating that you have the right to bear arms to protect yourself against the government.
Yes.
And that I think I'm not saying I believe this. I think they might have been saying that whatever arms are available to you at the time, you should be using those to defend yourself against uprising the government. I also don't think it means, allegedly, that you should be able to have any weapon you want in society and they can cause harm to people. So there has to be a balance, I think, stricken there. And that's what I think we've been having that debate on for decades.
The balance is kind of there, though, isn't it? Because you
Well,
can't go out
that's
and
your
buy a
point of view.
missile. You can't go out and buy a missile.
You probably can. If you go to places in the Middle East, you could probably buy a missile.
What I'm
You're
saying
saying,
is
I'm just
that-
joking. You're
yeah,
saying the United
yeah,
States.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
the United
agree.
States.
You should not be. And there's weapons that are allowed. Like Canada, you can't buy a semi-automatic rifle. But in the States, you can.
Can you buy a
So it's just a
pistol
choice.
in Canada?
I have to double check. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you probably could. But I know you can't buy semi-automatic weapons with bump stocks and all these different things you can load up
You
on
can't
here.
buy bump stocks
It's
in
just
the
different.
US. Those are
Oh.
illegal now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I know people have them, so I don't know.
Yeah, they have them illegally.
Good, as
Well,
they should
yeah.
be.
Going to the, we were talking about this off
Those
air,
were outlawed like 5-6 years ago.
Oh, okay, good.
But-
I'm glad
but
you know your gun
Under the
law.
Trump administration.
but
5 years, like 6 years ago?
Yeah,
Was Trump president 5-6 years ago? I think you're right, yeah. 2020. He would have.
Wow.
Is when he lost the election.
He's a lawyer, guys, not a mathematician. Don't hold him to it.
And he's a carpenter, Space Force member, and his resume's on Indeed.
Author.
Manny and I did not put our resumes on.
No, we
start of
didn't.
this
But
podcast.
coming soon,
Yeah,
his
it
resume
is.
will be on Monster Jobs.
That's right. I did kind of want to go resume for resume with Sean, but I decided not to do that
Hey, well, actually, you may not know this. I'm going back to college to get my civil engineering degrees.
You didn't go to college?
No, I went to college.
Oh, you're going back to it.
Going back to finish
You're going
because
to college.
8 years ago for Brave
Look at the
Frameworks was
resume.
started. I'm padding it.
Yeah.
And then I'll be a professional engineer.
You know what they say about a person who does 40 things? They can't do one of them right. I'm just messing.
What do they call it?
You're fully capable.
They call it what is it? Like a joker of all and a master of none or some shit like that? Or?
Sounds about right, baby. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, what were you gonna say?
No, Steve. So
it's like itching.
That's
something to say, baby.
But no, I was thinking. Do you think so you think the Joe Rogan podcast for
good.
Trump was beneficial? And then also, what is your take on Kamala having so many like
Snafus.
Alleged.
No. She had them.
Okay, I didn't know where you were going.
No,
Like
what
with
Joe
Anderson
Rogan, what Joe
Cooper,
Rogan
also
said is
with
that
Brett
he
Baer.
wanted to have Kamala
I saw
on,
that.
but her campaign manager said that there were stipulations.
Yeah, he had
and
to
he just
fly
was like, "I'm not going to agree
1
to
hour
this."
podcast.
Yeah, here's my take on it if you want my.
Do you
take
think
on
it was beneficial for Donald Trump?
I'll answer both for
Okay,
sure. I know
yeah.
exactly where you're going with this. So, did Trump doing the pod help him? Was your question?
Yeah.
The answer automatically is yes, just by doing it. Take out the content. The fact that he showed up and did it, of course, shows that he's not afraid to get in the ring and obviously take any. I think Trump's always been someone who's willing to pretty much do any interview.
He's always been in the
anytime.
limelight, really.
Yeah, I think he enjoys it.
Yeah.
But I also think it was a softball interview for him. I don't think Rogan pressed him on anything. Because he certainly could have pressed him on January 6th. He could have pressed him on a whole bunch of things that I think anybody else would have. I'm just saying he could have pressed. I'm not taking a position. I am agnostic on these issues. I'm independent on these issues. Now, Kamala.
Do you think it's a bad thing that she's?
By the way, I also don't think that Trump gave a good enough answer on the Kennedy assassination files. If you want my answer, he didn't go.
We
He
already
didn't
know.
I wanted more on that.
I did not hear that one. What was that about?
So Rogan asked him asked Trump if he would release everything.
What did he
pretty
say?
much. And Trump said that he plans to. And the reason why he didn't the first time was because there's still people who are alive that were named in documents, and he didn't want to do it for national security reasons, which there are people who are. There's witnesses who were literally next to the grass that day that are still alive.
64?
1963 was the assassination.
63,
And
November
you're an
22nd.
absolute expert. I don't know if you want to tell.
I would.
That's 60 years ago, bro.
Yeah,
So that means that the people that were probably named, they got to be in their 90s.
correct. 80s and 90s, depending how old they were. There was kids on the grass that day.
Yeah, but they don't know what the fuck happened.
Well, no,
right?
I'm just telling you, there's people that are alive. But of course, I mean, there's people who were in their early 20s that were there, early 30s, they're still alive.
If you release your book, or is it gonna?
What about it? My book is going to get released soon.
But it's got to be released before the JFK files are released.
No,
right?
that's not going to matter.
No.
No, my book's my book that I'm writing right now is a historical
Can
fiction
you even
book.
talk about it? Because I know you.
I
Don't
can
like
talk
talking
very
about
briefly.
It.
I will say it's
Yeah.
a historical fiction book that you take the facts historically that happened, and then you can take a lot of parts of it as they happened, and then you can fictionalize to create a good story. Because I'm writing a different situation where I think how I want to say this. I'll give it
This reminds me of the Umbrella Academy. I don't
It
know if you
is.
saw it.
I love that show.
Did
It's
you
a
watch
great
it with the
great show.
Kennedy assassination?
100%. That was one of the best episodes.
Yeah.
But I'm also biased.
Yeah.
But I'm taking facts and saying that this whole thing could have went down in a different way, and I'm writing about it like that. Most people just write about it was a conspiracy. Here's why. Here's who did it. I don't care about that. I'm looking at it a whole different lens, which is why I think it'll be appealable.
You're telling a story based on historical facts and then just filling in the gray areas. Is that basically what it is?
That's part of it. I wouldn't say that's all of it. I
Because
would
you're
say
storytelling. It's
I'm
not
telling
like
a story
textbook.
that from a different point of view in what they saw and what I think it could have happened this way.
Kind of like how Umbrella Academy did their episode, right?
Yeah, but theirs was more like trying to prevent
The end of the
stop
yeah,
and
we
how
don't
it
want to
affected the end of the
ruin
world.
Umbrella Academy.
Spoiler alert, who
Yeah.
cares? That
Yeah,
show's been on
yeah,
out
it's
there
been
for a
on for a while.
So, but anyway, to get back to the podcast thing is, I don't think he pressed him enough in a way to make it adversarial, but I also don't think Rogan wanted that. Rogan said everyone else is pressed, let's say Trump on January 6th. And Rogan made it very clear, which is why I think he's the best at what he does, and especially long form discussions, is
3.5 hours.
He said the same thing about if Kamala came on. I bet he wouldn't even have treated Kamala in a negative way. And she may still do it. We have time. But
we have time?
The people, we have time to still see if she does it before the election.
All right, just making sure.
This guy. Go add something to your resume. No, but my point when I was saying it before I was interrupted was
I don't like the ambiguity. I want to know who
I'm clearing it up. You're just interjecting before I can clear the point up. What was I saying?
We the potential voters have time.
That's not what I was saying. What I'm trying to say is Rogan, when I'm saying he's best at what he does is because
that's what all lawyers do as soon as they get here. They're like, let's see. You know what that reminds me of? Liar, Jim Carrey, dog.
Oh my God. You got to watch Rogan not to interrupt people.
All right, I'm done.
What I was saying, again, to get back to it for the third time, is he's the best at what he does because he just wants to get to know the person. He'll ask answers where they can expand and spend time, and he won't interrupt them, unlike some people. So I'm messing with you, Sean. So I think he probably would not have pressed Kamala on certain things like, why would you say you can be tough on immigration when you had 4 years to do it? Or why do you think you can drop food prices now when you had 4 years to I bet he probably wouldn't have gotten too far into the depth, but he might have. And this is what I want to get to answer your question, to make this answer more substantive and more appealing, is I think Joe Rogan would agree to this. I think he would say that his politics have probably changed. I think he was probably or generally viewed as being more left-wing in his politics.
Yeah.
And I think he's moved more towards the center right. And I think
that Dana White probably has something to do with that.
And I think that scares Kamala's handlers to say, God, we know we want to get 30 million views for her on this because we'll reach a base of people that can now see her and decide maybe they were on the fence about her and they might like her.
But it could also be 30 million the other way.
And then it could backfire. And the question they're asking them is, are we going to get the Joe Rogan who's going to be middle of the road, not ask questions about the things like I just said that could put her in a more negative light, where she will not have an answer for?
Dude, and
she will not. It doesn't matter. I could craft the answers for her right now, and they still wouldn't be good enough for most of America. Because you can't explain it.
How is she an attorney?
You guys are both asking questions. Who do I answer? Go ahead.
I'm making a statement. I've seen a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts where he bashes Trump. So,
like I just said, but you don't know what you're going to get on that day.
Yeah,
because in that interview, he did not.
I get that.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Because of what you said, he was trying to be civil and just get to know.
Which is what I think he would still do if Kamala came on. Whether Kamala's people and Kamala want to
being unbiased,
whether they want to assume the risk of it going left on them, for lack of a better term, I don't know if they want to risk that being this close to an election. You have less time for damage control, right? You have less time to change the narrative. And once it's out there, and it can be spun, and it can be spun against you. So she's probably listening to her people saying, as good of an opportunity as it would be, she's saying, I'd rather roll the dice on me doing my own public appearances and seeing if that gets me there to win, versus saying 5-10 years from now or 1 year from now, I lost the election because I shouldn't have done that stupid Joe Rogan interview and I did it. And so she's going to say, look, if I don't have that working against me down the road, at least I can say I lost on my own merits. And I think that's why she won't do it. And I think that's the right answer to that question.
But, for an attorney, I've met a lot of attorneys, including yourself, Steve. And you guys are, like...
Guys and girls.
No, guys and girls, whatever.
See, that's the attorney.
That's for Sean. Keep going.
No, but I was thinking, you guys are like really, smart on your feet. Like when it comes to like, hey,
quick-witted.
Yeah, quick-witted.
Yeah.
I just don't see that from her when it comes to quick wit.
Well, she was a prosecutor. That's why.
Well, prosecutors got to be quick on their feet.
Oh,
and from what I'm told, she's very good.
But in public eyes,
but again, it doesn't mean they're at the top level. They might have some of it. So again, I don't know. I'm not going to make that judgment because I don't know. I never actually watched her argue in court. And you could be right. Not all lawyers are all at the same skill level, and so maybe she just isn't that good at answering questions.
If you're going to be argumentative to make a case, you got to be in the public eye as well.
I would think
you can't shut down and be like, "Where's my teleprompter?"
There's some people who think she is good and quick-witted. If you watch her in the debates, I mean, of course you get prep before the debate.
She had the mic in
Well, I don't know if that's true either, but I do know.
Because Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her in the primaries in 2020, so she was
think so?
Straight up.
There you go.
She literally dropped out of the primaries right after Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her.
Tulsi's very formative.
Yeah.
She's going to be in the Trump administration as something. I know that.
Oh, so you're saying that he's going to win?
Oh, come on.
If he wins. I don't know.
You didn't say it.
Yeah, you just said
he's going to be in the Trump administration. Which one is it?
I don't know. Obviously, I don't
Trump
know who's going to win.
Bro, this guy.
You guys are so ridiculous.
This guy.
My white pants.
You know what?
I would have said it better, but Sean kept interrupting me. No, but if he wins, I don't know who's gonna win, obviously, but I do know that.
Who would you put your money on, regardless of
which 10-leg parlay would I?
Yeah. Which parlay would
It's
you
only
go on?
one bet
Or
right
actually,
there.
What would be the straight up bet right now?
For what?
Regardless of
Who'd
interest.
win? If I had to pick, regardless of who I vote.
Yeah,
for.
interest. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Really?
I have no idea who's gonna win. It's a toss up. It's
Gun
so
to
hard.
your head.
Here's why.
Gun to your head.
So again, let's clarify this.
Oh, wait. What is it called?
Musket?
No. What is a real
Exploding
hypothetical gun to your head?
Hypothetical
gun to your head.
No.
Yeah,
Exploding
allegedly.
cannonball to your head, which
Yeah,
never
yeah,
existed back then.
We're gonna be fact checked by the audience.
Exploding cannonball with shrapnel.
It did exist.
What was inside of it back then, technology wise, that helped the
Gunpowder
inside
and
of
a
it?
wick that wasn't lit.
That
No,
lit
he's saying
the
inside the
cannonball to
cannonball.
go. Once the
No,
cannonball's
bro,
in the
I'm
air,
not talking about on the
no,
cannon.
now he's changing his answer.
No,
He said
bro.
it's exploding
No,
cannonball.
the wick on the outside of the cannonball through the shaft, you light it, then you fire the cannonball. As soon as it
But
lands,
what Steve
destroys people, then explodes.
That did not exist. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, all right.
You're telling me a cannonball would go through a building or a home or a boat, and it sat there and just said, "All right, now we're going to explode."
Yeah.
Those technology did
No,
not
the
exist.
wick, bro, from outside the shaft of the cannon, you light it, then you blast
Well,
off the
that's
cannon,
different. Now
and the
you're
wick is longer,
now you're
and then within the
You're
cannonball.
comparing it to TNT. It's like a stick of dynamite. You can light the dynamite, but it won't blow up right away. You have to wait
until
for
after
it.
it's done. Yeah, that's an exploding cannonball still.
Okay. Well, now that you want to clarify it that way, the way Manny and I were both looking at this, we were saying that it was.
Oh, it hits and explodes.
It would sit in like a state of
That's what I was
stillness,
thinking.
and then all of a sudden be like, "All right, now we're gonna explode."
No,
now. Like a
no.
grenade has a timer on.
I didn't realize
those did not exist.
I didn't realize I had to speak the engineering portion of it.
So you're going back for civil engineering. For your
Civil
15th
engineering
degree.
has nothing to do with explosives, bro.
He's like, we build bridges. We don't do
Yeah, no
explosives.
shit.
We don't take thermodynamics and everything else. And
Well,
structure.
actually, I already did.
I was gonna say, of
Yeah,
course you did.
I
The
already
resume's
have.
huge.
Resume
bro.
is
Resume's
massive.
huge. Listen, he grew these fake plants.
Actually, they're not fake; they're real.
Stop it.
Get them to believe
Definitely
anything.
fake.
Guys, my co-host is an author, a to-be engineer,
President of Morocco.
President of Morocco.
On his free time.
And then my host over here, he is
Too many
about to
lost
be.
it.
He's a host, CEO, about to be a contractor. I mean,
Father.
your resume's long.
Mother of two. Hey, Mazel.
Yeah.
All right, we're done. It's a wrap. Appreciate
That's a
you.
wrap.
Thanks for having me.
Wisconsin.
Hey, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Win Penn